Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm your postal history curator Joseph, and today we'll dive into the perilous seas of World War One through a cover destined for Australia and connected to the story and fate of the Norwegian cargo steamship Pronto, a neutral vessel. But first, let's set the stage with what was happening in November 1915 to understand the dangerous world the Pronto navigated. It's November 1915 and World War One is in its second year. On the Western Front, the trenches are a muddy stalemate, with soldiers enduring relentless shelling and small-scale raids in places like Ypres and the Somme. In the east, the Central Powers are consolidating gains after the Gorlice-Tarnow offensive, pushing Russian forces back in Poland and Galicia. In Serbia, Austro-Hungarian and Bulgarian troops are crushing the Serbian army, forcing a desperate retreat through Albania. At sea, Germany's unrestricted submarine warfare is escalating, with U-boats targeting merchant shipping, including those from neutral nations like Norway, suspected of aiding the Allies. Norway's vast merchant fleet, vital for global trade, navigates a deadly gauntlet, while Britain's naval blockade tightens around Germany, heightening tensions with neutral countries. The Pronto, a Norwegian cargo ship, is already sailing these treacherous waters, its activities shrouded in suspicion for events only a year earlier. In October 1914, the New York Sun paper reported that the Pronto was in Honolulu, hastily calling for an unannounced destination, possibly Guam, and that it had a German government agent on board. Was this neutral vessel secretly aiding Germany under the guise of commerce? It had just fled Nauru as the British seized the island, suggesting covert operations in the Pacific. By November 1915, the Pronto was hauling cargo across the Atlantic, dodging U-boats and mines. However, 1916 would be a fateful year for this ship and its crew. On September 9, 1916, the Pronto was steaming 13 nautical miles northwest of Wesson, France, en route from Passages, Spain, to Bristol, England, carrying a cargo of saltfish and other provisions critical for Allied supplies. Enter Captain Lieutenant Werner Vorbringer, commander of UB-39, a German U-boat on a mission to cripple Allied trade. Vorbringer, nicknamed Phipps, was a legend, sinking 101 ships during the war. His orders were clear: disrupt shipping in the war zone, target any vessel, neutral or not, that might aid the Allies. The Pronto was caught in his crosshairs, likely torpedoed or scuttled after the crew was allowed to evacuate, a tactic Vorbringer often used, as noted in his memoirs, Alarm, Tauchen, U-Boat in Kampf und Strom. Okay, so let's analyse the cover. Along the base here in Chinese script we can see the sender's details. It's been sent from a sugar and food company in Shanghai, and we can see that above the black characters and to the centre of the envelope are two red chops, one likely representing the individual and possibly the company. It is franked here with a strip of 3 3-cent blue stamps and a singular 6-cent chestnut brown stamp. The design of these stamps being the junk issue, named after the famous Chinese boat, these are tied by 4 of 5 Shanghai bilingual circular date stamps, indicating that the letter was sent on the 5th of November 1915, which we can clearly see here on the best example. Beneath one of the Shanghai bilingual CDSs, we can see a Hong Kong 15th of November CDS, indicating that it travelled up the coast to reach the Pronto. Turning over to the address side, we can see from the address that it's being sent care of, as in to be taken by the captain of the Pronto, with the final destination making this letter diplomatic in nature, as it's bizarrely being sent to the Norwegian consulate in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. So in the centre of the address you may have noticed a faint red boxed hand stamp. Now this could be an Australian censor or perhaps a postage due, and I'm leaning towards postage due, as if we look here at the top we can see a faint Australian machine cancel here running across these lines at the top, and in the middle of these lines there are 2 perfect square stamp size spaces disrupting the lines, so I think postage dues were likely applied here at some point. Over to the far left, we can see some adherents of remaining paper, and I would say that this is a postal notice that's been lost over time rather than a censorship label or tape, as if we look at the other machine cancel, we can see that the lines here are still intact. So if it was a censor tape removed, wouldn't these lines have also, the ink would have been removed as well, surely? Not forgetting, of course, if we turn back over, we can see a better example of an Australian machine cancel, which also is tying the Chinese stamps and marking its arrival here, if you can just about see it, on the 6th of December 1915. What a fascinating and storied cover. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment and subscribe, and look out for more exciting postal history videos. Till next time.